My local MP, Gloria de Pieros, the hottest MP in the world, believes that there's a pay gap between the genders. What a shame. And she wants to force employers, she wants government to force employers to declare everyone's salary to everyone else in the company in an attempt to solve the problem. So I couldn't help but throw my balls in her face. To throw some arguments back her way, sorry. And later we will make the case for why the Labour Party in particular is still pushing the pay gap myth. I often get letters from feminists, but it's all hate mail.
More than 4 decades on from the Equal Pay Act, women are still earning significantly less than men doing the same job. The difference between men's and women's average annual pay is now 15.7%, or £5,200. To put that into perspective, the average female worker in the UK earns just 80 pence for every pound her male counterpart makes. Campaigners are calling for action and have branded today Equal Pay Day, the day when the average female worker in the UK will effectively start working for free until the end of the year. Meanwhile, Labour has said that if it gets into power, it wants to force large companies to publish pay differences. Let's speak now to Labour's Shadow Minister for Women and Equalities, Gloria de Pieros. Thanks very much for joining us.
The gender pay gap has been thoroughly debunked time and time again, to the point of it's not even worth covering anymore. I'll give you a very quick summary.
The pay gap figures they're using to make the claim come from a poorly designed report that takes an average across all age groups and occupations of full-time workers. It doesn't take into account any of the variables between lifestyle choices and preferred occupations. Women tend to work more part-time hours and on the lower end of full-time hours, and men tend to work more on sociable hours, shift work and the like. While men tend to strive more to carve out a career because men are designed to gather resources for the survival of the gene pool, men are also designed to negotiate, while women are designed to look pretty to attract a mate that will provide them with resources so they can reproduce more effectively and efficiently. There's a report done by Dr. Catherine Hakim, a world-renowned sociologist, called Preference Theory. She found that 4 out of 7 men in Britain are work-centred and only 1 in 7 women are work-centred. It concludes that women prefer more balance in their lives and choose to work less hours than men. Men pay more into the tax system than women, and women take more out of the tax system than men. The Chair of Public Finance published a 46-page study of the distribution of income and fiscal incidence by age and gender. It showed that men are taxed more throughout their lives, while women take nearly 5 times more income support than men do of the same age. But not only is it illegal to pay less based on gender for doing the same work, it would make no economic sense to employ men if women are paid 15 or 20% less. Businesses want to be as profitable as possible, so they'd favour women over men any day.
Or would they? Do employers really hate women that much?
According to feminists, they do. Fewer women get to the top, and many women are concentrated in low-paid jobs, mainly because they carry and look after babies and prefer a more balanced lifestyle. Life choices and less incentive to strive is why women tend to take lower paid jobs with fewer hours after their 20s. Recent studies found that women in their 20s earn more than men when you compare their hourly rates. And while girls outperform boys at school and outnumber and outperform boys at university, today's women aren't experiencing any hindrance on them to achieve anything they want in life. Yet feminists are insistent that women remain victims of a patriarchal conspiracy, even though men are more likely to be homeless or live in poverty. To truly solve your problem, you have to make sure women never have babies again, completely destroy the free market, which is already on its last legs, rewire the female brain to be more masculine in its thinking, or
kill all men. I am sick of being a baby factory that produces more men that will just, in the future, subjugate me. So the only answer to that is to kill male babies and just kill any man that you see.
First question, how would you force these companies to publish pay?
So they could publish it in their annual report. Lots of other countries already do this. And transparency, if you can shine a light on the problem, is it because women are paid less than men for doing the same job? Is it because there are too few women at the top of the company? Shine a light on it and you can see the problem.
Too few women being at the top isn't a problem, as stated earlier by Dr. Catherine Hakim, who did the Preference Theory study. The evidence shows it's based on women's lifestyle choices, not discrimination. How many feminists does it take to screw in a light bulb? None. They just hold it in the socket and expect the whole world to revolve around them.
Why would that make a difference? Why would that breed changes?
Well, I mean, Friends Life, they're a big insurance company. They do this already, and what they say is if you publicly report things, you can really manage it. You can see if you're making progress each year. It empowers people in that company to challenge things because, you know, just imagine what we're talking about here is everyone in this country, effectively, because of the pay gap, getting their pay slip, and it's saying £0 and 0 pence right up until December the 31st.
Yeah, that's a claim based on very shaky evidence.
Now, it's not, transparency won't solve it all. We also have to boost the minimum wage, provide extra childcare. Look at why part-time pay is paid a third less per hour. Is that because women are doing it?
Part-time hours ranges from 16 to 35. The wage gap report isn't specific enough to be drawing that conclusion. We already know that women tend to work less hours than men. What do you call a happy feminist? I'll let you know if I ever see one.
So lots of reasons, but transparency is really key. Actually, the government say transparency is important, but they've done a voluntary approach and I think 4 companies have signed up.
OK, so what are you going to do? You're going to force companies to do it?
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll consult on the best way to do it, but when we're elected. But yeah, absolutely.
Yes, we're going to force you to do it. You're doing it. We're the government and we decide how you run your business. We've got the black uniforms and the koshers. And we'll send people round if you don't comply. We're the government. If you don't reveal everybody's wages, we'll shut you down. Bullies. They're the aggressors. They're the ones using threats of force. They don't have the moral high ground.
Actually, we passed this legislation just before we left office in 2010 to enable the government to have this power to do it. And when the new government, the Tories and Liberal Democrats, got in, they said, actually, no, we're definitely not doing this. We're going to do a voluntary approach. It hasn't worked. That's why we'll call a vote in Parliament before the end of this year and say, come on, supporters, the voluntary approach hasn't worked. So let's get some transparency. Let's get it out there in the open, this issue, and solve it.
It's confidential information, which means it's none of your business. If employees who aren't as productive or punctual than the next guy see that they're earning less, they'll kick up a stink thinking they're being unfairly treated, some of them, causing employers some right problems. Or if I negotiate better pay, what business is that of my co-workers? I'm selling myself and my labour with all the value-added skills and benefits I can bring to business. And if my wages are transparent, I'm less likely to get a rise because my employer knows that everyone else will want one. And if someone knows you're earning a good whack, you have a slightly higher risk of being burgled by a lower paid employee, i.e. the cleaner. Oi, you cheeky sausage. Sorry, youth. Did you just mispronoun me? I didn't mean to. I'm confused. Don't call the police. There may be some benefits with wage transparency for employer and employee, but it's a small price to pay for privacy, for security and dignity. Nobody should be forced to be wage transparent. That's tyrannical. That's the state becoming even more intrusive into his lives. How many men does it take to open a beer? None. It should be open when she brings it to you.
Let's talk about transparency. I mean, have you in the past tried to find out how much your male colleagues are paid compared to what you were paid?
Do you know, that's a really good question, Louise. And I have a hunch that during my time in journalism, I probably was paid less than my male colleagues. But it's awkward, isn't it? You know, and I don't think the onus should be on the employee. I think it should be on us as a country, big companies, get it all out there. Because I think most bosses actually wouldn't want, you know, their daughters, their wives, their sister to be paid less.
But women in their 20s earn more than men when you compare the hourly rates.
And so, you know, it's in all of our interests, because if women are not paid the same, then all our families are poorer.
And what about, there are so many reasons why this might be happening, but for example, what people talk about, that sort of gap in confidence from women, from going to ask for a pay rise. Was that something you did? Did you dare to go and ask?
Yeah, I asked for a pay rise during my time in my 17 years in journalism. You bet I did. But actually, you know, I don't think it's a confidence issue.
She stuttered. Ah. Spit it out, love, or swallow it. You don't think it's a confidence issue? Based on what? Your own narrative being exposed, if you agree?
I think government can help, and they do it in many other countries, and do you know what? They score better on equal pay than we do, so I think we should learn from what's already out there and just make it easier for women to challenge injustice.
And what about the sort of argument as well that people will say, well, it's to do with, for example, in the past or whenever it was, maternity leave. Is that still making a difference, do you think?
Well, partly when women kind of, you know, a child rearing age, and when they come back, then the pay gap really shoots up. But actually, you know, I'm not a mum, and I wasn't a mum when I was in journalism, but I suspect I was still paid less, so it's not the whole story.
Yeah, you're not a mum, but you're doing very well career-wise. You're an MP on a good salary, which adds value to the argument that having children can affect your ability to be a steaming success and earn as much as a man does who doesn't have to carry a baby and who can pursue a career to support the family. Ironic, really, that you believe there's a wage gap. How many men does it take to fix a woman's watch? Why does she need a watch? There's a clock on the oven.
OK, good to talk to you, Gloria de Piero. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
So we have to ask ourselves why Labour and their feminists didn't tackle the pay gap issue when they were in power for over a decade. Do they know it's bullshit and use it as a tool to manipulate women into voting for them? It could be. It could be.
Feminists are whiny, gormless, toxic liars.
Feminists massage the ego of women who aren't doing so well or see men around them doing better. It gives them someone to blame and prevents them from looking at their own failures so they can better themselves or make different lifestyle choices. Another example, if the women think the job application process is sexist, they're less likely to apply for the job. Or if they do apply and don't get the job, less likely to figure out why they didn't get the job, because they can play the victim, which is much easier. It's much more comforting to believe there's nothing wrong with them, and instead there's something wrong with job application process. It's sexist. What feminists really want is for the government to force equality of outcome, which is tyrannical. It's communism by its very definition. It's the dictatorship of lazy people and low earners over hard-working people and people born into a wealthy family. And they keep shouting about diversity in workplace, but they won't acknowledge the diversity between lifestyle choices, merit and dedication. What they really want is superiority. They want to be in charge. It's their turn now. And we tried that for the first few thousand years. And look what happened. We ended up sacrificing babies. The firstborn went throat slit to the sun god or whatever to make sure the crops don't fail, all that kind of stuff. What's the difference between a feminist's vagina and a cricket ball? If you try really, really, really hard, you can actually eat a cricket ball. He knows what I'm talking about. You know where I'm on about.
Welcome to the final part of our 4-part series breaking down the letters in LGBT. You ready, Teddy?
Ready.
Okay, today we are talking about the 4th letter, T. T stands for trans or transgender.
Ooh, that's a cool new word.
Do you remember when your little baby bear brother was born?
Yeah.
You probably learned that your little baby bear brother was your little baby bear brother, that your new sibling was a boy. There's something a bit weird about how doctors assign gender to babies. That's because there aren't only boys and girls, and because not all people identify with their assigned gender.
Oh, so the doctors are wrong sometimes?
Yes, Teddy. Sometimes doctors don't assign the right genders.
Right.
Lindsay, I'm really good at this gender stuff now.
Don't let your kids what's it?